And the most important thing of meditation is to have a sense of humor. Because there will always be things like that, like forgetting to unmute when you're trying to make a recording. Or there will be, as we get here so often on Saturdays, the trash truck outside. It'll be in this nice, calm, open place where you're just peaceful and drifting, and then all of a sudden, bang, boom, crash. And if you're uptight about it, it will destroy your meditation. It will interfere. But if you have a sense of humor, if you can laugh at yourself a little bit, then it becomes part of the music, whether you're listening to a song or not. It just becomes part of the meditation. There's no separation. So let's try that for one song. So as we settle into meditation, we bow in gratitude. We invite Buddha nature to come to the forefront of our awareness. We allow the face to relax, putting the tongue on the roof of the mouth, allowing the front part of the tongue to relax, and let the jaw come to neutral along with the face. Allowing the body to become still in a comfortable position. And now we focus. We pick our focal point for this meditation. It can be the heart center. And we drop into that spaciousness, that openness. And when we get on a thought train, when we find ourselves distracted by thoughts or feelings, we very gently pull our attention back to our focal point. And then as we drop into that spaciousness, we let go of the focal point and just let ourselves dissolve into that silence, that space. And when we need to, we return to focus. And then we release. So let's try that for one song. at the end, I bow in gratitude for sitting. When I started teaching here at Dharma Center, even before that, most people didn't know what meditation was. They didn't have a frame of reference for meditation. When I opened Dharma Center for the first at least 5 years, the town directory, the Ocean Beach directory, kept listing us under massage. I have to keep contacting them saying, we don't offer massage, we do meditation. We're Buddhists. I would say meditation and keep trying to explain, well, we sit, and they'd be a little light, a little tiny light would come on, and they'd say, oh, you mean yoga? Should I bring a yoga mat? And I'm like, no, we don't do that, we just sit. And then they'd have this very confused look, and I finally say, we're Buddhists, we just sit. And then they'd be like, oh, okay. And then that word Buddhist kind of gave them a little bit of a box to put us in. But they still didn't know what that really meant. You know, they're expecting us to wear pretty robes and walk around with our hands just so. But times have changed. Just like how Hatha Yoga became westernized and kind of implanted itself into our world on this side of the planet, meditation has followed the same course. And it's a wonderful thing, but the purist in me finds it a little frustrating too, because many people think they're meditating, but what they're doing is just relaxing. And relaxing is so important, especially in this world. Just as many people think they're practicing Hatha Yoga, but what they're really doing is just stretching. And it's interesting, even when I had some friends that brought me to India, and there was a spot we went to meditate on the banks of the Ganges, and they had a big sign that said, spiritual practice only, no Hatha Yoga, no yoga, no Hatha Yoga. Which kind of cracked me up, because it's like, well, you're in India, this birthplace of Hatha Yoga as union with the divine, which is what yoga actually means. And the sign, no Hatha Yoga, spiritual practice only. So it's very incongruous. But that shows me this westernization, or colonialization, might be a better word, has taken root even in India, where Hatha Yoga is more about exercise and more about learning how to move the body in certain ways than it is about spirituality. Just as meditation has become more about relaxing the mind and training the body-mind system to be calm, than it is about uniting with our Buddha nature. Now, as I said, the purist in me is horrified. It's like, oh, how could this happen? So horrible. But the realist in me says, how wonderful. This is magnificent. Because in the 1990s, when I was just really becoming serious about my practice, to meditate in a park and not be looked at weird and not have people walk by and kind of throw weird energy at me, I would have to come equipped with a book and sunglasses and headphones. And if I had all of those, had the book out on my lap, the headphones in my ears, and the sunglasses on so people didn't know my eyes were closed, people could put me in a comfortable box and say, oh, she's just reading and listening to music, I won't bother her. But now we can go anywhere and sit down, maybe even put our fingers in the meditation mudras, sit up nice and straight with no props, and people will walk by and say, oh, they're meditating. Well, this happened at a trip that I had gone on with RMS to Grand Canyon, and many of them had started meditating in the 80s when it was even weirder thing to do. And so many of them wanted a place off of the path to go sit in the bushes, and that's what we did the first meditation. There was a spot where we could kind of all separate and find little cubbies where we were hidden away, and then one person stood guard, which I found kind of funny, but it's like, okay, it's not my trip. And then we found ourselves on another trail, and there was no shelter. There was no place to hide. But there was this beautiful cliff overlooking the canyon. So I was like, hey, how about we just sit here? You know, because I know this trail, it doesn't, you know, there's no bushes, this is desert, so there's nowhere that we're going to find a hide. And so after some, you know, hemming and hawing, it was like, agreed, because we were a big group. It was like 21 of us, I think. So we finally agreed that, yes, okay, we will all just sit here and meditate. And we did. And it was so fascinating with the different tourists that would come by, because some of them were just completely oblivious, and they'd be standing there talking and pointing and taking pictures. But then there was the majority of them would come by and just become really quiet and really still. And I remember this one family came by as I'm sitting just gazing into the canyon, so beautiful, and just in the bliss of all that pure energy and light. And this little family comes up, and one of the children is confused and like, what's going on? What are they doing? And the parent is like, be quiet, they're meditating. And that just spoke to my heart so much, because there was such respect for meditation, even though they were not interested in practicing, and there was no need for them to practice. But they allowed the space for meditation to happen, and as a result, they had some benefit, I'm sure, from that. So we live in these very interesting times where meditation is readily available everywhere. Like even last night I was watching television and a commercial came on for one of those meditation apps. And it came up with just this very light circle, and it said on the screen, do nothing for 15 seconds. And it had a little line that went around for the 15 seconds. And that was just a wonderful little pause. Would I call that meditation? For some people, if you already know how to meditate, sure. But if no one has ever shown you the silent mind within you, if you have not had that exposure, then it's highly unlikely to actually connect with meditation. That's one of those weird little caveats that used to make me so angry before I met my teacher. Because I would find all these books about, you know, the secret technique, the special technique that you need, and they talk all about it around it. And then you get to the very end of the book and they'd say, you need a teacher to get there. And I want to throw that book across the room. Be like, no, I don't need a teacher to show me. And then I finally met my teacher. And within 10 seconds, even less, 10 seconds max, he showed me meditation for the first time. And even though I had sat and had very relaxing experiences, I had astral experiences where I traveled through different astral realms and saw pretty colors, and had very intense experiences where I felt things very intensely. I never experienced meditation. I never experienced the spaciousness of pure silence until I sat with my teacher. So, the good news, bad news of this meditation being so readily available is there's lots and lots of techniques out there. Like I say, you can even download an app on your phone that will help you start to train your mind and body to prepare it for meditation. But until you sit with somebody who can actually stop thought, you won't know what meditation is. The best equivalent I've found is swimming. You can download apps on how to swim, the best way to get your stroke. You can practice on your couch, how to move your arm and kick your legs, and you can sit in your bathtub and feel the water. You can watch 1,000 videos about swimming. You can listen to podcasts, download apps, all these ways. You can go to the ocean and watch people swim, go to the pool and watch people swim. You might research everything about swimming, from the history of it up into its current form, all the different contests, everything. You could be an expert and write many, many books about the concept of swimming. But until you get in the water and start flopping around, you don't know what swimming is. There's just no way to transfer that information until you actually do it. But the fortunate part of the world we live in now is many more opportunities exist to encounter somebody who can stop thought. And not everybody teaches a formal class like I do. Not everybody announces it, I'm going to meditate now. So by doing all of this preparatory work, the apps help. The books help. The videos, researching the history, all of that helps prepare the mind. So when you do have that fortuitous encounter with somebody who can stop thought, if you are in that receptive space, then boom, it's like jumping in the water and suddenly your arms are moving and you're gliding through the water. And you are in the spaciousness of meditation, and it's unmistakable, and you just know it. You might not know what to call it, but you'll know it. because it's in you. It's meditation is not something we do. You know, in our current language, that's how we refer to it. We say, oh, I'm going to go meditate. And that helps our mind compartmentalize our life, and it helps set up a foundation for discipline. But meditation, what meditation really is always here. And we are always swimming in the ocean of meditation. But we become so enamored and so busy with our life. We become obsessed with running away from the things that cause us pain and running towards the things that create pleasure. And then we pretend to, aspire to the state of equanimity, by remaining neutral. But what we're really doing is pushing and pulling at the same time and calling that neutrality. But underneath that game, underneath all of that is meditation is happening within and as you. So in a very real sense, you are meditation. When you're not caught up in all your busyness, you're rushing. You're feeling like you need to do all of these things. And maybe there are things you need to do. But if you do them with the full awareness of your being, even every activity that you do is meditation. So the goal of spiritual practice, only because when we're talking in the relative dualistic world, we need goals. We like goals. We want to measure our progress. We can say the goal of our spiritual practice is to prepare our body and mind to be open to opportunities to be meditation. And that sometimes looks like just sitting and being. Other times it's very active, and we might be shopping at the grocery store and we're completely in a state of no thought. And we just know exactly what we need to get, what we need to do. We need to go this way and then that way and pull this down, and we know exactly which line to go in. Not because we have some agenda, but because when we do, there's a certain feeling, there's a certain connection to everything. Like we might wind up in the absolute slowest line, but maybe when we get to the cashier and we're still in meditation and we have this interaction with them, we offer that as a gift to them, because maybe they're just completely frazzled and ready to quit life. But then here we come through the line with this light just pouring through us, and we complete our transaction and go about our day, and we've left a little bit of magic behind, where now all of a sudden that person's reality has completely shifted because they were at a breaking point. So these things happen. It's not that we go out and try to seek them and make them happen. That's just the ego playing, saying, oh, who can I save today? How can I be the savior? And that's not what we're doing. No, our practice is much more basic. It's much more simple. We're simply seeking connection with that which we are. We are inviting Buddha nature to be at the forefront of our awareness. For most people, it's at the back of their awareness. So if you think of perspective, there's the foreground of the painting or the picture or the screen where all the action is happening. You know, in the movie, the camera zooms in on the actors and it's very clear, and then the background's kind of fuzzed out. For most people, the fuzzy background, that's Buddha nature. But what we're doing as practitioners is we're flipping that. So we're bringing Buddha nature into the foreground where that's crystal clear. And these actions that we're going through, these motions of daily life, those kind of go into the background. They're still happening and we're still fully aware of doing all the things that need to be done to the best of our ability. But we're not caught up in the little games of pushing and pulling and pretending to be neutral. We actually become neutral. We see and experience fully the equanimity of all these different sensations arising and falling away, all these different thoughts arising and falling away. So in the beginning, when we're just starting our practice, or if we're starting our practice over, it's just a matter of getting ourselves to sit every single day. I said twice a day is better. So carve out that space in your home for meditation. Create whatever rituals you need to get yourself to sit comfortably and be open to meditation. And in this way, by doing this every day, we start to build trust. Trust is an important piece. If you don't have any trust in yourself, in the process, or in the teacher, it creates a wall, a barrier, where you don't experience meditation. That's why some people will come sit with me or other teachers and they won't feel anything. They won't see anything. Even if they meditate with their eyes open, they don't see any light. There's nothing there. Because there's this holding back, this hesitation of, oh, I don't want to go in there, that's scary. Because when we do, it's you standing at the edge of the swimming pool. Like, yeah, I really want to learn how to swim, but I don't want to jump in there. It might be a shark. Even though I can see the whole pool, it's empty. Might be something scary in there. Don't want to go. So that this distrust, lack of trust, holds us back. So in the beginning, that might be something that you have to work on for a long time. I had one student studied with me for years, and finally one day we were out, just the two of us on a walk, and we sat to meditate, and I had her do some gazing exercise, and after the meditation, she had a big grin on her face, and she's like, I saw light, finally, for the first time. But it had taken years for her to be willing to jump in the pool. And that's fine, because the pool is always there. It's not going anywhere. It's always there. Your body might not be here for very long, but meditation is always available. And then we reach the middle part of the practice where we're sitting every day, and it's a grind. We do our daily grind, where some days we have awesome experiences where we sit down and we instantly drop into silent mind and we just feel good. We're able to translate that into our day-to-day life. Everything's wonderful. And then other days, nothing. We sit and it's just boredom. There's just tedium. There's just friction. Maybe we start to unearth things that we haven't thought about in centuries. And they start to come and we struggle and fight with them. And then there's part of us that says, well, this isn't working. Why should I bother keep doing this meditation stuff? Nothing's happening. And that intermediate stage lasts a long, long time. So don't give up on the grind, because if you just stick with it, and stick with it, and stick with it, this is the stage where you can start to really play with different meditation techniques. You have to kind of entertain your mind a little bit and say, okay, I've been just focusing on my heart for a long time and it's not getting me there anymore. So let me learn some new techniques. And there's probably thousands of techniques that we can learn and play with, and give each one a fair shot. There's a nice one that Yogananda would teach where you just visualize and feel Om going from the base of your spine to the crown. And you Om up and you Om down, and you Om up and you Om down. And that's just a nice movement of energy up and down. Very simple. So that's just one more technique. There's the others I've talked about of focusing on the breath, focusing on the sounds of the world. There's another one where you just very lightly focus on your breath, or you're sitting and you watch thoughts arise and fall away. And so the thoughts and sensations themselves become the meditation focal point. You're just watching things come up and watching things fall away. So this intermediate stage has lots and lots of options. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And then we start to step into more advanced practice. And this is where we start to actually hit satori's, where we have a flash, a moment of insight that completely shifts our perception. Or we might have a samadhi where we completely dissolve, our entire being is just gone. And when we come back, we're just kind of this pile of goo. And then we have to reformulate ourselves, and it's a little confusing because we know how viscous we are. And that's when the path gets dangerous, because we can have a satori experience where we have this flash of insight. And I'm not talking about an intellectual realization. I'm talking about something much more visceral. Very similar to that first dive into meditation, where you first jumped in the pool and you're like, oh, this is what that lady was talking about. So there's other realizations to be had that are like that, and they often come with these bright bursts of energy. I call them bliss bombs, where there's just joy exploding within your being. And I say that's the most dangerous part of the path because there's a tendency, I've seen in my students, I've seen in all sorts of different people, my teachers' students, I've seen it, where we enter into this phase of these bliss bombs, the satori, or these samadhis, and then we just coast. And there's a feeling of, oh, I don't need to sit and meditate because I'm already there. I'm just here all the time. I don't need to actually designate time for my practice because I'm always in a state of practice. And while that may be true to a certain extent, if you're still interacting with the world, this conditioning, this worldly conditioning is still smashing against our consciousness. It's still flooding our awareness, coaxing what's in the background to come into the foreground. And as we coast on this energy, this very subtle shift can happen that we don't even notice. We just kind of lull ourselves into this state of complacency where we think, well, I don't need to work so hard on my practice. I've already gotten somewhere. And so maybe we don't meditate quite as long, or maybe we skip a day, or maybe when we do sit, we don't focus quite as intensely. Maybe we don't practice our mindfulness as sharply as we once did because we're having these bliss bombs and it feels good. And then as this worldly conditioning keeps smashing against us, all of a sudden we wake up one day and the magic's gone. And we just feel the heaviness of the world. And it often comes with a very intense depression of like, oh, what happened? And this, some people might even go into the whole dark night of the soul of like, oh, did I just waste 20 years of doing meditation and it didn't work? And it's like, yes, it did work. You just stopped. You were out there swimming and then like you just stopped. And then so of course, you're going to sink. So when you do reach those more advanced stages, don't stop. Just keep paying attention. And that's our core practice, pay attention. And trust your intuition. If it says, oh, well, we need to like drop everything and meditate right now, do it. Trust me, do it. If it tells you, I need to go for a walk right now, do it. Use your common sense, of course. Look before you walk out into the middle of the street. Don't get run over. Because there is this integration period that has to happen where you're having these bliss bombs, yet you still need to be able to drive the car safely. So there's this balancing that happens. So meditation always is. And there might come a day where you awaken, and at that point you decide, I'm done with all of this. And then you fade into the background of life, and there's no more worldly conditioning splashing up against you. There's no more interacting with people. But if you choose to stay and continue to interact with the world, then we need to keep up with our practice. And if we embrace it, it can become the best part of the day where we just meditate. And allow ourselves to be fully immersed in that which always is. My teacher would always say that he loved to meditate, he loved meditation. It's the best thing ever. He didn't need to meditate anymore. But because he was still teaching in the world, he still needed to do his practice. Just like I still need to do my practice. Because I'm here with you. And I'm happy to do that. So let's practice. I know I talked a little bit long today, so if you need to leave, it's okay. But we're going to sit for about 12 to 15 minutes. We'll do 3 songs. So we'll start on the navel center, then the heart, and then the third eye.